Hello. All right, go ahead and get started today with some yoga. Let's go ahead and find a nice tall spine, just wherever you're comfortably seated here. So shoulders over the hips, ears over the shoulders. If you need to shrug the shoulders up and relax them down and back, that's an option. Chest is open. You can close the eyes or find a spot to gaze at. Just finding some breath here. So as you breathe, we want to find movement to the ribs below the armpits and the bottom set of ribs as you inhale and exhale. You may notice movement to the chest and shoulders, the clavicle, or maybe even into the upper back. But here at the beginning, maybe just finding movement to the ribs below the armpits and the bottom set of ribs as you breathe. Just noticing tightness or openness there. It's a challenge to exaggerate a breath if that feels like a natural action for your body. Long, smooth exhales. You're a little taller at the top of your inhale, maintaining that length on your exhale. So the chest stays open, so the spine stays long. Remember, you should be using a little bit of abdominal wall to sit up, not tightening up the lower back and pushing the belly forward. Noticing where your focus is, that's to the breath, and if the mind's wandering or racing along, just continually pulling focus back to the breath as best you can. Allowing for the exhale to lengthen as little or as much as it's comfortable. And if that feels like a natural action to allow the exhale to lengthen, maybe noticing the gentle pause at the top of the inhale. About 2 or 3 more breaths here in stillness. When you maintain focus to your breath as you move through your practice, but keep your movement deliberate and safe, your stillness deliberate and safe. Your pace, your breath here. So when you're ready, we're going to work our way through the 6 movements of the spine. I'm going to start off with your right leg out in front of the body. Couple options here. If you want to bring the heel into the pelvis, that's an option. If you want to bring the foot onto the thigh, we can find half lotus from here. Some of us may want to bring the left heel around for the outside of the right hip and thigh. That's an option. And just find some length. So when you're ready, keeping the spine long on the exhale, begin to move the chest forward over your leg. A little bit of side to side to the chest. That'll help to open up into the lower back. Ears from shoulder to shoulder, chin from side to side. If you want to keep your elbows in, it'll tend to stretch the spine more, whereas if you have the hands out, it will tend to leverage into the lower back, belly of the hamstring more. So whatever feels best here for you. Exaggerate a couple of breaths. You may notice the gentle lift on the inhale and the sinking back to the exhale. Whether you want to tuck the chin is up to you. If you want a little more stretch into the IT band, take the hands just to the outside edge of the right foot. They'll tend to stretch the outside of the thigh. 3 breaths. Just following your own inhales and exhales, waiting for an in-breath, we'll come all the way up. Shoulders down the back. Nice and tall. So we're going to keep the right leg out in front. Just bring your left foot to the floor. Lengthening up, drop your shoulders. So the primary focus here in our twist is maintaining length of the spine. So that means your chest stays open. We don't want to tense up the lower back, but we want to use the abs to create the lift. So tall on the inhale, and then on the exhale, you can gently begin to twist around to your left, gazing over the shoulder or closing the eyes. A couple of deep, even breaths. Once again, not tightening up the lower back. Maintaining length to the abdominal wall, openness across the chest. And then just wait for an inhale. You're going to bring the head around last. So begin to inhale, bring the head around last, tall to center, shoulders down the back. From here, we're going to keep the right leg long. We're just going to bring the left heel into the pelvis. So toes and knees to the ceiling here. If you need a block, you can have it hand you off to the left side of the body. On the inhale, reaching up, shoulders down the back. On the exhale, we'll bring the hand down to the floor. And then starting off with least resistance, up and over to your left. Walk the fingers out, bend at the elbow. And you can gaze up past the shoulder if you'd like. If you need to relax the head and neck or add movements here, that's up to you. Hand over the shoulder, bicep by the ear. If you've got some shoulder issues, maybe hand to the shoulder, hand to the hip if that feels better for you. Let's take about 3 more breaths. Natural movement on an exhale is for the bottom set of ribs to kind of squeeze a little bit with the abs and the obliques. So we want that to come up. So on the exhale, lifting the body, shoulders down the back. On the inhale, reaching up. On your exhale, we'll go ahead and take the right hand down to the floor or a block. And we're up and out to the side. So gentle lift through the ribs. Keep the chest open, the shoulders stacked. You can have your arm out to the side. We just don't want to twist it forward, but keep the shoulders down the back, regardless of how little or much you want to come out. We'll take about 4 more breaths here. Once again, movements to the head and neck as you need them. So when you're ready, we're just going to let the abs and the obliques kind of squeeze here a little bit to push the body up, shoulders down the back. We'll do the same thing on the other side of the body. So we'll take the left leg out in front, right heel into the pelvis. We're going to bring the foot onto the thigh in the half lotus. That's an option. Just maintain length. If you're bringing the heel around for the opposite hip or thigh, that's your option. So with the toes and knees to the ceiling, with the right leg wherever you've chosen to put it, we're going to lift the ribs on the inhale nice and tall. Keep the chest open on the exhale, forward to the chest. And we can start to come down. You can have the elbows in or the arms reaching out in front, whatever feels best here for you. Remember, if you want arms out in front or elbows in, that's just your option here. You feel like it would be better to gaze forward, that's an option as well. Just be careful of the back of your neck wherever you end up. When you're ready on the inhale, start to come back up. Just lengthening up to a neutral spine as best you can, then unhinging the rest of the way. Foot to the earth, knee to the sky, and it doesn't matter which side of the leg your foot's on. Just whatever you feel like you can maintain length. And that's not tightening up the lower back. That's using the abs and the obliques to create a lift up off the hips. So shoulders down, chest open. And on the exhale, you can begin to twist around to your right. You can bring the hand to the floor for support. You can gaze around or close the eyes. Breathing here. Once again, we're going to think about the head moving around last. So when you're ready on the inhale, you can start to come back to center, unwinding. Head and neck moves around last, tall to center, shoulders down the back. We're just going to take the knee out to the side. So when you're ready, right knee out to your right, left leg out to your left. For a lateral stretch, once again, just keeping the spine long, shoulders down. And then on the inhale, we're reaching up. On the exhale, go ahead and drop the right hand in line with the hips and shoulders. So you can reach up and out to the side. No shrugging the shoulder up by the ear. And we don't want to push the shoulder forward, but just comfortably down the back. Keep your arms as active as you'd like. If you're bringing the elbow to the floor or block, just don't crunch the rib cage down into the pelvis. Breathing here. Hand over the shoulder, bicep by the ear, whatever's comfortable for the shoulder girdle as you breathe. Whenever you're ready on the exhale, once again, bottom set of ribs naturally squeeze. We use the glutes and the abs to come all the way up, shoulders down. Same thing on the other side, reaching up on the inhale. On the exhale, hand down to the floor, and we'll reach up and over. You can keep this fairly light if you need to. If you're finding the forearm to the floor a block, just don't crunch your ribs down into the pelvis. Hand over the shoulder, bicep by the ear, whatever's comfortable for you. Once again, you tend to have rotator cuff issues or you fatigue to the shoulder girdle. You can always bring the hand to the shoulder, which will change the stretch across the chest quite a bit. When you're ready on your exhale, bottom set of ribs, the abs, the obliques, just gently squeeze to lift the body. Take the legs out in front, hopping out the hamstrings or just any kind of movements you'd like to make from there. For next movement of the spine, we're going to come around for a back bend, and we'll do this from the belly. If you would like to start off all the way down to the floor, you can bend the knees and rock the heels from side to side just to allow the lower back to move around a little bit. When you're ready, let your feet come out a little bit wide. Hands on either sides of your eyes, and we'll slide up to elbows under the shoulders. So we don't want to shrug or collapse, but shoulders down the back. We want to think about the chest gently lifting forward. Heels in, toes out. We'll externally rotate the thighs. That's an option. If you'd rather have toes in, heels out, that's also an option here. It's whatever feels comfortable for your back. Gentle gaze over opposing shoulders if you feel like that's an appropriate action for your body here. We're just going to pause and breathe. Remember, no shoulders forward, but shoulders down and back as best you can. Your breath. If you'd like to have hands flat out in front of the body, that's perfect. If you'd rather have palms gently pressing together, that's perfect. Nice safe spot for the shoulder girdle would be one hand each elbow. And we're pausing here as we breathe. Finding movement into the ribs below the armpits and the bottom set of ribs. Jaw stays relaxed. Last few breaths here. Keep the forearms pushing down wherever you chose. We're going to think about the abs and the obliques hugging up against the skeleton, against your torso. Glutes squeeze a little bit. We're going to bring the legs together and curl the toes under. And when you're ready, on an inhale or exhale, whatever feels comfortable, lift up to the bottom set of ribs. Your pelvis will leave the floor. We don't want to collapse to the shoulders, but press the chest away from the floor. And this may be perfect. You can just stay right here. A little bit of side-to-side rocking if you have movement available to you. If you'd like and you feel like it's appropriate for your body, we can lift the knees up, nice, strong, straight legs. We're just going to take about 5 or 6 breaths here. Gazing into the face, gazing forward if you feel like that's appropriate for your body, whatever's comfortable for the neck. Breathe. Once again, no tension to your jaw. And when you're ready on the exhale, you can let the knees slowly drop down towards the floor at any point in time you're ready. Knees will come down. You want to keep the abs and the obliques hugged up against the skeleton as you bring the pelvis slowly down to the floor. And we'll let the chest come down. Shoulders can shrug, elbows to the side. Any movements you need into the lower back, rocking the heels from side to side, smaller big circles to the heels if you'd like. If you'd like to reach back for the feet and just give a little stretch at the quadriceps and hip flexors, that's an option. 3 breaths. When you're ready, hands by the lower set of ribs, you can push the hips up, find a table position. Hands under the shoulders, knees dropping out, the hips about hip width apart. When you look back between your legs, we'd like the feet to disappear behind the thighs. So cat-cow's just breathing through on the inhale. Chest forward, hips move out behind you. Pull the shoulders back. So this is about length, not tightening up the lower back. On the exhale, gently lift up to the bottom set of ribs as you push your palms into the floor. If you want to tuck the chin gently, that's an option, just whatever's comfortable for your head and neck. And just wait for your natural inhale to move into your cow. And your exhales to move into your mad cat, just as fast or slow as your breath is coming to you. Next inhale or exhale, just wherever you are in your cycle, find a neutral spine here for a moment, pressing the chest away from the floor. Any kind of rocking the hips from side to side or other movements you'd like. We're going to come into a balancing table. We're going to think about a strong left shoulder. So when you're ready, take your left leg right out behind you and want the heels or toes pushing out, whatever's comfortable. The tendency is to open the hip, but we want to think more about moving the heel back out behind us and how far up we can get the leg to go. Abs and obliques creating a corset around the center of the body will bring the right arm out in front. You can gaze under the face. That'll keep the back of the neck long. You can gently gaze forward as long as you aren't jutting the chin out. And that'll keep the back of the neck strong. Whatever feels best here for you. We're going to think about 4 breaths. Most balanced spot for the gaze, straight down under the face. Following your breath, when you're ready on the exhale, bring the hand down. Knee down when you're ready. Any side to side to the hips you need to add, gentle cat-cows, whatever's appropriate here for you. Once again, pressing the chest away from the floor. Abs and obliques supporting the body so the bottom set of ribs are tucked in. Strong right shoulder, right leg floats out behind you. Once again, don't try to hike the hip open, but think more about reaching the heel back out behind you so we're finding length. Pulling the ribs forward, strong shoulder. When you're ready, you can float the left arm out in front, and that can be gazing forward or gazing under the face. Wherever you are, breathe into the diaphragm and the chest. Long, smooth exhales. Wherever you found for your neck on the other side will probably be appropriate here as well. On an exhale, hand can come down. Knee drops when you're ready. Side to side to the hips, gentle cat-cows, or whatever's appropriate for your spine. Neutral spine whenever you're ready. And we're just going to open up into the legs here a little bit. Quadriceps and hip flexors, rather. Step your right foot up between the hands. And we'll just pause here. Line the knee and ankle up. And you can start off with any kind of side-to-side rocking to the hips you need to do. If you'd like to gaze over the right shoulder, it would help to draw the left hip forward and down. And that can be top of the foot flat to the floor. That can be toes curled under. Whatever's appropriate here for your body. 4 breaths. How much pressure you push into your right foot is up to you. How much you want to pull the chest forward is up to you. If you think this is better relaxed here today for you, that's fine as well. And just into the opposite muscle on the exhale, let the hips shift back. You can walk the hands back towards the hips. The knee can stay bent. You don't have to straighten it out. Maybe the hip just comes over your back knee and you pause here, relaxing the head and neck, any movements you'd like to make. If you want to straighten the leg or adjust to the feet, that's up to you. If you'd rather keep your hands out in front or relax down over the right thigh, that's up to you. And once again, pausing here, we'll take about 5 breaths. Gazing under the face, keeping the chin gently tucked in will keep the neck long. If you feel like you need to gaze forward, that's fine, just as long as you aren't jutting the chin out in front of the body. Breathing, coming around to an inhale, we're just going to bring the knee and ankle lined up again, back toes curled under, a foot flat, whatever's appropriate. Any kind of adjusting you need to do here, we're going to switch the legs out. That could be high plank, that could be a table, whatever's appropriate here, just a couple of breaths. And when you're ready, we're going to take the left foot right up between the hands, dropping the right knee to the floor. A little bit of side-to-side rocking to the hips if you'd like. A gentle gaze over the left shoulder will help to draw the right hip forward and down. We're breathing here. Neck is long. No tension to the jaw. Make sure you're breathing into the ribs below the armpits and the bottom set of ribs. Wherever you feel like it was appropriate for your gaze on the other side will probably be fine here. There may be a little bit of movement to the head and neck. Deliberate, subtle movement as little or as much as you need it. When you're ready, on your exhale, we're going to gently shift the hips back. Toes or heels pushing out on the front leg, whatever feels comfortable. And if you need a bend, that's fine. You can even walk the hands in. Keeping the spine long. If you need to adjust a little bit here, you can adjust a little bit. Breathing. Whatever variation you find on the other side will probably be appropriate here as well. Lots of breath. Long, smooth exhales. 2 more breaths. Gently shifting forward when you're ready on the inhale. Step the feet back. You're going to come down to a table for a few cat-cows if you need it. And just a brief down dog. If you bring your hands nice and wide to the top of the mat, we want pointer middle or middle finger forward, whichever one feels most appropriate. The perfect distance between hands and feet for down dog is the same as high plank. So if you want to start off from high plank, lift the hips, push the chest back towards the thighs. This is about a long neutral spine. It doesn't matter how straight your legs get. If you feel like feet to the outside edge of the mat is going to be better for you, that's fine. You can push hips out to the sides, feet narrow or wide. Take about 4 breaths here. Some of us like to relax the head and neck. Some of us will tuck the chin to gaze back at the belly button. We're just going to walk the feet up to the hands when you're ready. Bending the knees as much as you need to. Any movement that feels comfortable. Standing forward fold. Couple of breaths here. Inside or outside edges of the feet together. We're just going to come up into a half lift for a moment. Hands at the thighs. Chest parallel. So pull your shoulders back. Think about moving the ribs up away from the pelvis. Chest is open. This isn't about how far down you can stay. It's about how much of a neutral spine you can find as you breathe here. So wherever you end up, just find length. Openness across the chest. Exhale, relax. 2 more on the inhale. Half lift. Exhale, relax. Inhale, half lift. Extend. Exhale, relax. Let's go and take the left foot to the back of the mat. Nice wide step. So we're going to come up into a warrior 1. I want you to take the left foot and step it forward just enough to bring the foot to the floor. We want to be careful that we're not crossing the feet. We want width between the feet. So if you had a line down the center of your mat, the right foot would be just off to the right side of the line, the left foot just off to the left side of the line. Keep the back leg strong. And remember, if you need to conserve, you can always bring the foot closer together. Hands by the hips, abs and obliques, so lift the spine, shoulders down the back. Couple of options here. If you want to take the arms up over the head, that's fine. If you'd rather bring the arms out like cactus arms to the sides, that'll open the chest and engage the upper back. Maybe hands into a big fist on the back is more appropriate for you. Maybe hands to the thighs today. So we want to think about the big toe to the inside edge of the knee. Abs and obliques lift the ribs. We'll take about 5 more breaths here. Make sure your feet are pressing into the floor so we have even pressure into the right foot. On an inhale, we're going to slowly straighten out the front leg. Hands to the thigh. Don't let the hips shift around too much, but try to keep them squared off with the front of the mat. And on the exhale, begin to bring the chest forward over your long right leg. Bending the knee is perfect here. If you're going to bring your fingertips to the floor or a block, that's an option, maybe the foot. You can pause here and breathe. If you're finding hands to the floor, that's an option. Hips gently pushing from side to side. Any movements to the head and neck you need to add. We'll take about 4 or 5 breaths here. So the best spot for balance, we can kind of find a spot up by the foot to gaze at. If you feel comfortable relaxing the head and neck, that's an option. And if balance isn't an issue here, maybe your hands are coming back a little bit. Maybe you can bring the hands together behind the right leg. Your breath. Hands for any kind of support you'd like. If you need a bend to the knee, that's fine. Hands by the hips, we're going to slowly come up. Drop to the knee, and we'll find our warrior one once again. 2 breaths. Keep the back leg strong. We want the abs and the obliques to support all the way through as you begin to exhale the hands down towards the foot. We don't want any pressure across the lower back. Lunge on the inhale, and just switch your feet over to the other side. You can use a hand to pull the foot up. You can drop a knee for support, whatever you need here. Same thing for warrior one. We want to think about the back heel coming down to the floor. We want to think about the left foot being just off to the left and the right foot just off to the right. So if there's a line down the floor, you can even have the feet all the way up against that line. But we just don't want to cross the feet behind each other. Strong right leg. Press into the left foot. Hands by the hips, and we'll come up from here. You need to bring your hands to your hips and stay here. That's perfect. Hands to the thighs, an option. Cactus arms. Biceps by the ears. As you breathe, think about the abs and the obliques, lifting the ribs away from the hip points. Maintaining length. Let's take a couple more breaths here. Jaws relaxed. Finding movement to the ribs below the armpits and the bottom set of ribs on the inhale. We're just going to straighten out the front leg. Thighs for support if you need it on the exhale. We're coming down over the long left leg. Try to keep the right hip from pushing back, but even lower back as best you can. Bends to the knees if you need it. Fingertips to the floor or blocks, whatever feels appropriate. And we'll breathe from here for a moment. And remember, you can stay a little more lifted. You can even use the hands to the foot. Gaze to the inside edge of the foot is going to be best for balance. If you'd rather kind of relax down and gaze out behind you, that's an option. Whatever movement's appropriate here. Breathe it. If you'd rather find the hands out behind the leg, that's an option. Hands can come together. We'll take our last few breaths here. Once again, wherever you end up, relax in the jaw. Hands can come forward. So when we come up, if you need to bend to the knee, that's fine. Use the abs and the obliques to lift. Then we can find our warrior one, dropping to the knee. Strong right leg as you breathe. No tension to the jaw. Abs and obliques lifting the ribs. On the exhale, we can start to come down. Thighs for support if you'd like. The obliques and the abs supporting us all the way through so we don't have any pressure on the back. Hands to the floor. Lunge. Down dog. So just step the left foot back to meet the right. You can have your feet wide, narrow, whatever feels appropriate here, and breathe. Any kind of movements you need to add from side to side to the hips. High plank on the inhale, shoulders over the wrists. So you can drop to the knees here if you need to. When you come down, we don't want to shrug. We want the chest to lead the way. So on the exhale, leaning to the chest, low cobra. Pull the chest forward. Top of the feet, push down so much your knees may lift. Glutes will gently squeeze to anchor the pelvis down. Abs and obliques pulling the ribs forward away from the hip points. Remember, when you're here, this is all about length, not about how far up we can get the head to go. Don't jut the chin out, but think about keeping the neck long. 4 more breaths. On an exhale, down dog, curl the toes, push the hips up and back so you can stay to the knees. Find your high plank if you'd like. Chest to the thighs. 2 breaths. It's a lateral stretch here. We're going to step the right foot up between the hands. You have an option to drop the knee. If you'd rather, spin your heel down to the floor. So a block, if you're going to use it, can be on either side of the foot. Inside edge of the foot is going to be most accessible. Outside edge of the foot, just a little more challenging. And we want to think about rolling the shoulders back. On the inhale, left arm to the sky. Make sure you keep the left leg really long and strong and you're pushing down into the right foot. Abs and obliques are pulling the ribs up off the hip points. Gazing up past the palm or wherever is comfortable for the head and neck. We'll think about 4 breaths here. Hands down on the exhale. Lunge. Switch the feet out. So we'll let the back heel spin gently down to the floor. Knee and ankle lines up, and we want to plant the left hand. If you need blocks here, that's perfectly fine. Inside edge of the foot will be a little more accessible than the outside edge. Hand to the floor, strong shoulder. Abs and obliques lift the ribs on the inhale, right arm to the sky. Shoulders draw back, finding your gaze. 4 deep breaths from here. Maintaining your breath following your inhales and exhales. Let the next exhale bring the right hand to the floor. Lunge. Exhale, we're going to take the feet back. Knees to the floor. So find your knees a little bit wide. If you want to block here to sit down, that's perfectly fine. Child's pose, hips to the heels, chest across the thighs. You can have the elbows in. You can have the arms out in front, whatever feels appropriate for you here. As you relax the head and neck, you can rock the hips from side to side. If you'd rather bring the chest from thigh to thigh, that's perfect. Just a few breaths. Coming up when you're ready, you can come up to a table. You can sit on the heels. However it's comfortable, you just want to bring the sits bones back to the center of the mat. Legs out in front. So from here, hands to the thighs. Tuck the chin towards the clavicle just a little bit. We're just going to roll onto the back. Knees into the chest, side to side, front to back, smaller big circles with the knees, whatever feels most comfortable. Just help to stimulate circulation to the body. We're going to take the legs straight up to the sky. You can use the hands to the thighs for support. You can rest the arms to the sides with the shoulder blades flat. Biceps by the ears. If you just need to bring the arms across the chest, that's fine. We're going to take about 5 or 6 breaths here. So when you're ready, just drop the knees towards the chest. We're going to bring the arms out to the side. So bring your feet out to the edges of your mat. Arms are to the sides. And when you're ready on the exhale, we're going to keep the feet pretty much where they are. We're just going to let the knees roll off to your left. So you just roll to the edges of your feet. And if you need to adjust a little bit, that's fine. You can take the gaze out over the right fingertips if you'd like. And we'll take about 4 or 5 breaths here. On your inhale, come back up to center. We'll just do the same thing on the other side. On the exhale, knees float over to your right. Just kind of keep the feet where they are. We're just rolling across the edge. You can gaze over the left fingertips if you'd like. We'll take the same breaths here. Lower back towards the floor, inhaling or exhaling, we come back up. Gently draw the knees towards the chest and any kind of movements you need from here. For our bridge pose, our back bend, just up to neutralize the spine, we're going to bring the feet down as close to the glutes as is comfortable. A nice symmetrical pose as we wrap things up. So as your feet come down, we don't want to do too much pulling the heels in. Or whenever you lift up, you're going to end up with knees way out over the ankles. That's going to be bad for the lower back, the ankles, and the knees. So let the feet fall down to a natural spot wherever they land. Arms to the sides, palms down. You can flatten your shoulder blades. So the abs and the obliques hug up against the torso. We're going to let the glutes squeeze to protect the spine. Gentle lift to the pelvic floor. And on the inhale, pressing into your feet, begin to lift the thighs or the pelvis, however you want to think about that, straight up. As you lift, we want to push a little bit of the weight from the feet up towards the shoulders to create a little more length and openness. You can roll up onto the shoulders if you'd like. If you want to keep the back flat, that's fine. You can bend the elbows and press into the triceps. It'll help to keep the upper back squeezing. Once again, hands into a big fist. Some people like to reach for the feet. Once again, we want to keep the knees over the ankles, though, so that we aren't putting pressure on the lower back and the joints. We'll take about 4 breaths here. Pulling through the exhale to slowly drop. And you can lay the spine down 1 vertebra at a time. That'll help to keep the abdominal wall engaged a little bit here. You can let the spine come down as 1 unit. We don't want the tailbone to hit first. Knees into the chest. Any side to side to the legs you may need from there. When you're ready, we'll come down to our final relaxation. So you can just start to lengthen the legs on the floor underneath of you. Palms up to the sky, just a little bit wider than your shoulders. Heels a little wider than the hips, so the toes externally rotate the upper thigh, so the toes fall out, externally rotating the upper thigh. And then find a comfortable spot on the back of your skull. You can do that by rocking the head from side to side. We don't want to be overtucked. We don't want to be too lifted, but we want to find a spot maybe where the nose is just a little higher than the chin. Typically, rocking the head from side to side, we can find a spot pretty close to that. So we want to find focus to the breath. Maybe that's the movement of the ribs as you breathe. Maybe that's the length of your exhale or just counting your breath. If you need to add quiet, subtle movements here, that's perfect. Stillness as much as is comfortable. And we're just going to pause here for about 4 or 5 minutes. Your pace, your breath. Try to maintain your inhales and exhales. If you need to at some point exaggerating a breath, we just don't want to force anything with the breath. So if If you notice that you're kind of gasping for air, you're not breathing fast enough, just take a nice deep inhale and breathe normally for a little bit. And this process is trying to maintain focus to the breath. If you get distracted along the way, completing that process is making a deliberate decision or an effort to draw focus back to the breath again. Checking in to make sure the jaw is still relaxed, the arches of the feet have relaxed, the palms of the hands relaxed. And as you breathe here, just checking in with your breath again, making sure you still have movement to the ribs below the armpits and the bottom set of ribs. Drawing focus to your inhales and exhales. Go ahead and take about 4 more deep breaths. And always exaggerate a couple of those if you need to. As you find your natural rhythm, you can begin to wiggle fingers and toes, wrists and ankles. Any movements of the hands, the feet you need to make, maybe knees towards the chest. A little bit of side to side, front to back, smaller, big circles with the knees, whatever's comfortable here for you. So traditionally, we roll over to the right side of the body to lift the heart above the organs and the brain. Whatever's comfortable for you, you can bring the arm out to the side and just roll onto your side, resting the head on the arm for just a moment. Hands for support. We're just going to gently press back up to where we started. Shoulders over the hips, ears over the shoulders. Find your length. A few breaths here. Noticing subtle changes to the body, the breath, of the mind here at the end of your practice. Subtle changes you created here today, subtle changes you can return to as often as you need to. It's just your pace with your breath, especially when your practice ends, as we move through our week, as we continue through our days. I honor the light in you. There's the same light in me. Namaste. Thank you for joining us today. Have a good week. Thank you much.